Hey, what's going on? It's Accept, and I'm making this video specifically not because he requested me to do it, but because another user within the Explosive Squat Games Discord asked a very he asked a very important question, which is how do triggers work? Because there are people that don't know how they work, and he was mainly confused on how the scene triggers and cutscene triggers work and what does what. So I thought I would make this video as a way to kind of demonstrate the differences of the triggers that are available in the tile grid objects tab, and how they exactly work and how you're supposed to use them. There's only two I will not touch upon. One of them being the achievement trigger, which I'm pretty sure was left in from development by Spy. Which, by the way, Spy, if you're watching this, you should probably remove it, because this is actually a good way to spoof achievements and get achievements for free, basically. And yeah, this should probably be removed, so I'm not going to go over that. In fact, I will DM him after I'm done making this video. Another one I won't be going over is the script trigger, because this one I don't know how to do, because I'm pretty sure it involves Lua coding and knowledge of Lua coding. I do not know how to code in Lua. I'm not a programmer. If I had to guess how it works, it has something to do with your map Lua file, and then scripting something within that Lua file, and then setting an ID, and then, you know, doing this, and then going and checking the ID of that ID script trigger for the map. But otherwise, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on how that works, but otherwise, yeah, I don't know how it actually works. So I'm not going to touch upon that at all. So, but I will touch upon every other trigger in the map and how they work and how they're supposed to be used. So the first major trigger that you'll probably learn how to do if you're trying to make your maps as cinematic as possible is the cutscene trigger. So let's do this one. So cutscene trigger, it's very simple. You drag and drop, and you can make it as big or as small as you want. I'm going to remove that. So you got trigger 3 right here. Okay. And basically, if you're doing a trigger for a cutscene, and you only have like it set to like day or night or whatever, and it's just one time frame, then you want to make sure they're both set to trigger at night and trigger at day. And the reason for this is because if you're only intending to be night or day, it won't be able to make a difference between the two, or I think it might trigger when it's only set to trigger at day. So instead, you just want to trigger both of them. But if, say, you're doing, say, a mission where, let's say, actually, let's turn these on, and I'll actually do this for certain purposes. If you do the option mission entry time, then if you wanted to do something unique where a cutscene only triggered at day or at night, with that the time of day mission, you know, which allows you to choose which time of day you go in, then this could be useful to set it to only day or night. But if you're just having it set to one part of day, whether it's like bright day out or night, set both of them to trigger at night and trigger at day. And then to get this trigger to work, here's what you need to do. You need to set up a cutscene. So let's just set up a very simple cutscene. So actually, let's do some fun little playing around. So let's just place a goon here and set him to dummy, because I don't really want him to do anything. And then I'm going to just set his his view angle to 90. There we go. So let's set him to 90. Actually, where is, okay, so yeah, he's in the trigger. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a cutscene where I simply have Sean go in and kill him. I'm just going to leave it at cutscene 1. You can name your cutscene anything you want. So I'm going to have it be, actually, let's, for the sake, to make this easier for me, let's like make some walls, put some dev walls around, like right here maybe, like a fake little building. And like a fake little door way kind of thing. And then let's take a look. Yeah, let's move this over so it only triggers once you go in. Let's go to cutscene. And then we're just basically going to have Sean, the moment he comes in here, move over, pull his pistol out, shoot him, and then the cutscene's going to end. So let's do that. So and then like another wait to make it wait for another second, and then it's going to finish. So let's test that out. Oh, okay, for some reason it didn't work. What just happened? Oh, that's right, because I have to set the cutscene ID. I did not do that. So cutscene 1, make sure you set your cutscene IDs, because otherwise it won't work. There we go, he's moving towards the goon. He shoots him. Oh, that's right, I set him to I set him to a dummy. That's right, I almost forgot. That's my fault. In fact, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that NPC to be a decor. Okay, so I reset it up, so here's the finished product. There we go, and our guy's dead in the cutscene. So that's how the cutscene trigger works. And you can do a numerous amount of things with cutscenes. You could do something that's a little bit more dynamic. In fact, I'll show a little bit of that here. So for example, let's say you want to have some dialogue happen. So that's where you go to map settings, and then you go to dialogue. Now, I want to differentiate the difference between dialogue and talk text. Talk text is... well, it's basically like dialogue, but it happens within the game. So if you're familiar with the goons in the game, where sometimes you'll just kind of find them just facing each other, and then next thing you know, you see text bubbles pop up over their head. That's what talk text is for. Dialogue is for cutscenes. So let's just add a new dialogue. Let's make 2 of them. Let's make it, so let's say dialogue ID test _1, and then we're gonna have the next one be test _2, and then I'm gonna have this character portrait just be like a junkie or something like that from IV1, and the speaker name, or yeah, and then we're just gonna call this one junkie, and then we're just gonna have this be protag2, which is Sean, because that's the ID name for Sean. And now normally if you don't fill out the speaker name for, say, the player, it will default to Steve, I believe. Now you can set that in the map settings where you can choose the player name, I think. So like player name English, Sean, I think would work. But I think also this has something to do. Entering a player name is optional and will override various contextual mobile dialogues when the player tries to interact with something. For example, name on the dialogue that gets shown. So yeah, for example, if you type in Sean, it'll show the name Sean. But since we're not doing that, we're just going to keep it as is and just make the speaker name ID for Sean be protag2. And then we'll just write some dumb text. And then also when you're doing dialogue in succession, so for example, if you want this dialogue to go first and then immediately the next one in succession to go next, you want to make sure you set the next dialogue ID. So we already have the second one, test2, so we're just going to put in test2, and since there's no dialogue coming after this one, we could just leave it blank, which can be used to effect in certain cutscenes if you're trying to end a specific piece of dialogue in a chain and for some sort of effect, and then have the next one play after that. It's hard to explain because that would have to get its own video in its own on how complex cutscenes can be. But yeah, we're just gonna do that. Go back to the cutscene. We're gonna add a new part where it's gonna happen before, and then we're just gonna set the dialogue, and the dialogue is gonna be test 1, and we're gonna do test 1, and then that should work. So let's do this. Yep. Oh no, I'm gonna die. Die, bitch. There we go. So yeah, that's how that works. So stupid, but yeah, that's how that works. Okay. Now that basically explains how cutscene triggers work and what does what. So if you're making a cutscene, use the cutscene trigger. And then you set up your cutscene, set it up the way it should be according to how you envision it in your head, using all the parts and actions that are available. And, you know, just make sure to segment your parts. So if you want certain things to happen, don't do a whole run-on part, like have everything happen all at once, because otherwise you're going to get some really awkward things, or just certain things are not going to work at all. So you want to be very careful. But that's basically the general gist of how it works. So there you go. That's how cutscenes work. Okay, now we're going to move on to scenes. So what we're going to do, actually we're going to exit out of that. We're going to place 2 more goons. Have this one face around 180. Have them face each other. In fact, I think there's a way to set them to like a decor, kind of like, yeah, decor state. So if I go in here, I don't think they're going to notice me at all. Oh, never mind. Okay, never mind. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up a scene where these two talk. And to set up a scene where these guys talk, and in fact, we're also going to do some other things that you can do. Like, for example, if you ever wondered how goons have their talk and then they go to, say, a patrol point on the map, I can show you how to set that up. So let's say, so actually, let's set up a patrol point here. So let's just go do this. New patrol point. It's just going to be a straight line. And then we're going to save that. And that's one patrol point. And then we're going to have this one, patrol point 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up a scene where it's going to trigger, like, say, out of view, because I don't want them to see me and then ruin the whole thing. So, and we're going to keep these unassigned. So we're going to go to scenes now, not cutscenes. They're very different. As it says right here, scenes occur during gameplay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have them talk using talk text. And then once they're done, we're going to have them set their patrol points. So which goons are these? 2 and 3. Okay, so yeah, what we're going to do. Well, first off, I'll set up the patrol point thing. So let's say set patrol point, patrol route. So we're going to have goon 2 do outside 1, and then we're going to have the other set patrol route do outside 2. So this guy's going to do that one, and this one's going to do that one once the scene is finished. But we're not done yet. We want to do some talk text. So it's a goon 1, and then we're going to have goon 2. Now, there's one annoyance that I do have about talk text. I'm just going on a soapbox a little bit. I wish there, like dialogue, there was a next ID for it. Instead, though, they are just, you have to set them up individually in their own parts. And I'm going to show you why that's important. Because unlike dialogue, where you could just set it up to be one dialogue action in a part, and it'll go through every single IDs until the whole dialogue chain is finished, you can't do that with talk text. And I'm going to show you why it's important to separate them into different parts. So again, I'm going to demonstrate what I mean. So let's do, so to set the talk text, you need to go to set talk text. And then we're just going to set the goon 2 to do, what was it, goon 1, I think. Yeah, goon 1. And then here's what's going to happen if you set talk text simultaneously in one part. So goon 3, then goon 2. So let's do that, and then we're going to set up the scene trigger. So again, we just go into the tile grid objects, go to scene trigger, and we're just going to make it this big thing right here. And scene ID, scene 1, and then make sure it's set to trigger at night and day. If you're not planning to make a day/night map where you can choose which time of entry you can go in, otherwise you can set it up accordingly. And I'm just going to go in here. So you see what just happened? You see how they just just did their thing, and they both talked at the same time. If you want them to go sequentially, what you got to do is go into scenes, and then we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to make a new part. And this can be really annoying if you're making a huge chain of talk text. Like, say you're trying to make some funny dialogue. In fact, I'll provide an example of what that looks like. And it could be really annoying just because you have to do part, set talk text, part, set talk text, part, set talk text, and then you have them go to the patrol. Man, this show is awful. Can you change the channel? What do you mean? Booty Shakers is bootylicious, man. What's not to like? Bro, this shit is just brain rot. I mean, I like booties just as much as the next guy, but if all I wanted was the booty, I'd just watch porn. Oh, come on, bruh. Don't be like that. You can at least admit those booties shake real nice, right? Well, come on, man, admit it. Okay, those booties shake nice. See, man, you get it. Those booties do, in fact, shake nice. So stupid. Oh, what the fuck was I thinking? And just to give you an example of what that looks like, set that up. Yeah, that I had to do all those parts individually and write all the damn talk text. Oh man, it's just so yeah, that was stupid. It's really annoying. But if you don't set the talk text individually in their own parts, they will not do the sequential talking. They'll just talk at the same time. And that's not what you want. So here's what we're going to do. Goon 3. Goon 2. And if it works as intended, I'm a goon. I'm a gooner. Unfortunately, they're just going to talk a little bit more before they go do their patrol. But they're going to their patrol as intended. There we go. See? Okay, and he's going to see me. But yeah, that's how that works. And you could do plenty of other things as well in a scene. That's just an example of what you can do with the scene. But yeah, there's that. And that's how that works. The next thing we're going to talk about is dialogue triggers. So let's go back to dialogue and let's set up a new test dialogue. And this is how, so if you ever wondered how to do like mobile dialogues where it's not a cutscene, but it's like you notice how sometimes in the game, if you're playing like the main campaign, for example, sometimes Steve or Sean's head will pop up in the top left corner, right? This is how you do it. You go to dialogue trigger. Where is it? There it is, dialogue trigger. And we're just gonna make it this small little thing. And then you go to dialogue ID, which is test 3, which is just a single piece of dialogue, but it could be as many pieces of dialogue as you want. So if you want it to be chained in a sequence, you could do that. But we're just gonna do one. And then you go to the test trigger, and for some reason it didn't work. Why not? Well, for some reason, I don't know why this happened. But for some reason, you have to go into test mode and then go back out of test mode and then go back in, and then it works. Yeah, I don't know why that happens. I think that's something to do with the coding. I think Spy maybe needs to fix that. But once you go do it again, it'll work again, and it'll only work one time. But you could also make it so that it could trigger whenever you go into that whole thing. But yeah, that's basically how dialogue triggers work. Okay, so I don't think I was recording for the previous part. I was going to talk about door open/door close triggers. But for whatever reason, I forgot to unpause the recording. So that's my fault. Now, so I got a door set up here. It's door_1, door U1. Now, what it's supposed to do, the door open/door close triggers, is what it's supposed to do. Is it's supposed to, well, theoretically anyway, once you go to the trigger, open the door. But as you can just tell, it did not open the door at all for whatever reason. Why? Because it just, it just removes the ID every time you do it. So I don't know if this was not intended to be used at all in the map editor by Spy. I have no idea. But yeah, just so you know, they don't work. So if you're trying to use them, it doesn't work, at least for now. Maybe I'll bring it up in the Discord to Spy's attention. Maybe he'll get it to work, or maybe it was just not intended to work to begin with. So yeah, it doesn't work. So that's that trigger. Then you have a generic trigger, which to its point, it is generic because it does absolutely nothing as far as I can tell. Maybe this is something you can use in conjunction with the Lua file. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe this is another thing that was left in development. But yeah, it does nothing as far as I know. So let's go to the next trigger class. Then there's move position destination trigger, which basically what it does, according to this anyway, it clears move position destination indicators when triggered. So I'm guessing it's those little markers that you can place on the map, like for an objective or something like that. So basically once you go into that, and let's yeah, so see, there it is. And then once you go into the trigger, it just gets rid of it. So that's what that does. Then you got the NPC spawn trigger. There's NPC spawn and then there's NPC spawn trigger. So basically how the NPC trigger is supposed to work, you have to place a spawn for NPCs. So let's just make it like, well, yeah, let's just make it an experienced, I don't know, merc with a AR-15. Why not? Max trigger 1. And then let's set up the spawn trigger, which then you have to link those. And then, oh, didn't seem to work. What's going on here? What just happened? Why didn't it work? Okay, for the life of me, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know if it's because I'm on screen, it's not working. Maybe I need to place it near the edge of a map. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know why it's not working. Because I am within, I placed the spawn trigger right here to get that spawn trigger that I placed over there to work. But for some reason, it's just not seemingly doing a damn thing. So yeah, I don't know why it's not working. But yeah, that's kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. So maybe you guys in the comments or in the Discord could explain what I'm doing wrong. I thought I did everything right, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong. I even set it up so that in the cutscene, or I set the trigger to disable and then enabled the trigger for it in the cutscene so that it would theoretically spawn the NPCs I placed for that spawn, NPC spawn. But I don't know, it just didn't seem to do anything. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but that's theoretically how it's supposed to work. Once you go into the spawn trigger and you link it to the NPC spawn, it should spawn an enemy, but for some reason it's not working. Maybe it's only doable when you when you play the map in a load map situation where you have to load the map normally instead of in the map editor. Maybe that's how it's supposed to work, because I know certain things like objectives don't really work unless you load the map normally without the map editor. So maybe that's why it's not working. And then the last one I want to talk about is tip triggers. So tip triggers, well, it sounds exactly like it's supposed to be. It's a tip trigger. It gives you a tip. And let's say lock picking or doors. Let's just set it to doors. There's plenty of other dumpster, darkness, movement speed, breakable windows. I don't know if you can make your own tips or anything, but yeah, for some reason this is all you get, but that's fine. Doors. So once you go in there and you set the trigger a day and night and then make it a one-time trigger, you walk over here, you lock pick doors to gain access, shoot the door handles to break locks. Yeah, so it's very straightforward. That does exactly what it says on the tin. It gives you a tip. So yeah, if you're trying to teach the player certain things, like maybe certain important things, or maybe to give certain hints to the player of what you maybe need to do, that could be very useful. So anyways, that's basically the video on all the triggers and how they work, or at the very least theoretically are supposed to work. Like the door triggers, they don't work for whatever reason. Again, I don't know if it's only supposed to work when you play the map normally through loading the map instead of going into the map editor and loading the map that way. Maybe that's how that's supposed to work. But yeah, hopefully this explains some things and gives you guys some ideas on how certain things work in the map editor and how you're supposed to use them. So anyways, thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day, night, whatever makes you happy. Peace.